The thermos slipped from Yardley Lawson's frozen fingers for the third time that morning as he tried to pour coffee with hands that felt more like blocks of ice than living flesh. And he wondered if taking his daughter Emma to the bus stop, in what the weather service was calling the worst blizzard in 50 years, made him protective or just stupid. "Dad, your lips are turning blue," Emma said from where she huddled beside him in the plastic bus shelter, her 7-year-old voice muffled by the thick scarf wrapped around her face. She pressed closer to his side, and Yardley wished for the 1,000th time that their beat-up Honda had not chosen last week to die completely. The mechanic said the transmission was shot, and the repair would cost more than the car was worth. So here they were, waiting in a blizzard because Emma had perfect attendance this year and had begged him not to let her miss a day. "I'm fine, sweetheart. The bus will be here soon." Yardley finally managed to pour the coffee, the steam rising in the frigid air like a spirit trying to escape. He had woken up at 5 that morning to his shift at the warehouse, then rushed home to get Emma ready for school. The coffee was left over from his travel mug, barely warm now, but it was something. The wind howled around them, driving snow sideways into the shelter. Visibility was maybe 20 feet on a good moment, less than 10 most of the time. Yardley checked his phone again. The bus was running late, no surprise there. He had maybe 15 minutes before he needed to catch his own bus to his second job at the grocery store. Money was tight, had been tight since Rachel left 3 years ago, but he and Emma were making it work. Barely, that was when he saw her. At first, she was just a dark shape in the white chaos, stumbling along the sidewalk like a ghost made solid. She wore what looked like a business suit, completely inappropriate for the weather, and no coat that he could see. Her dark hair whipped around her face, and even from a distance, Yardley could see she was in trouble. "Stay here," he told Emma, then stepped out into the blizzard. The woman nearly walked right past the shelter, her arms wrapped around herself, her skin pale as the snow. Up close, Yardley could see she was shaking violently, her lips actually blue, her eyes unfocused. "Hey," he called out, reaching for her arm. "Hey, you need to get out of this weather." She turned to look at him, and for a moment, her eyes cleared. They were remarkable eyes, he noticed despite the circumstances, a striking blue-gray that reminded him of the ocean before a storm. She tried to say something, but her teeth were chattering too hard. Yardley did not waste time with questions. He guided her firmly into the shelter, positioning her on the bench next to Emma. The woman was soaked through, her expensive-looking suit clinging to her frame, her bare legs covered in goosebumps. What kind of person went out in a blizzard dressed like that? "Emma, give me your spare mittens from your backpack," Yardley said, already shrugging out of his own jacket. It was old and patched in 2 places, but it was warm and mostly waterproof. "But Dad, you will freeze," Emma protested, even as she dug through her backpack. "I will be fine. This lady needs it more." He draped his jacket around the woman's shoulders, and she grabbed at it with stiff fingers, pulling it close. Emma handed him the spare mittens, and Yardley worked them onto the woman's hands, rubbing her fingers gently to try to get circulation going. The woman was still shaking, violent tremors that ran through her whole body. Hypothermia, Yardley thought. He had seen it before, years ago when he was still doing construction work. She needed to warm up from the inside. He picked up his thermos without thinking about it. There was maybe half a cup of coffee left, lukewarm at best, but it would help. He poured it into the thermos cap, his hands steady despite the cold gnawing at him through his thin flannel shirt. "Here," he said gently, holding the cap to her lips. "Drink this. Small sips." She looked at him, really looked at him, and something passed between them in that moment, something Yardley could not quite name. Then she sipped the coffee, and he saw some of the tension leave her shoulders. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse. My car broke down, my phone died. I have been walking for, I do not know how long. It is okay. You are safe now." Yardley crouched in front of her, still rubbing her hands, He tried not to notice that her suit probably cost more than he made in a month, or that the watch on her wrist looked like it could pay his rent for a year. "What is your name?" Willa Zimmerman. She took another sip of the coffee, and some color started returning to her face. "I am so stupid. I knew the storm was coming, but I thought I could make it to my meeting. Then the car just died in the middle of nowhere, and I started walking and—" "You are not stupid," Emma piped up. "Sometimes cars just break. Ours broke last week, and Dad says it happens." Willa looked at Emma and managed a small smile. "Your dad is very kind. You both are." The school bus appeared through the snow like a yellow submarine surfacing through a white sea. Yardley felt torn, not wanting to leave Willa alone but needing to get Emma to school. "I need to make sure my daughter gets on the bus," he said. "But then I am calling 911, getting you to a hospital." "No," Willa said quickly. "No hospitals. I am feeling better already." "I just need to call someone, get a car service." "Your phone is dead, and mine is almost there too," Yardley said. He stood up as the bus pulled to a stop, its doors opening with a pneumatic hiss. "Emma, go ahead, sweetheart. I will see you tonight." Emma hugged him fiercely. "Stay warm, Dad." "Take my scarf." "I am fine, Em. Love you." "Love you too." Emma climbed onto the bus, waving at both of them through the window as it pulled away. Yardley turned back to Willa, who was watching him with an expression he could not quite read. "Okay, let us get you somewhere warm." "There is a diner about 2 blocks from here. Can you walk?" "I think so." She stood up, wavering slightly, and Yardley steadied her with a hand on her elbow. She was tall, he noticed, maybe 5'9" or 5'10". Even soaked and half frozen, she carried herself with a kind of grace that spoke of confidence, of someone used to being in control. They walked through the blizzard together, Yardley keeping a steady hand on her arm, guiding her through the whiteout conditions. His teeth started chattering after about 30 seconds, the cold seeping through his flannel shirt like knives, but he kept moving. The diner appeared like a beacon, its neon sign barely visible through the snow. The blast of warm air when they stepped inside was almost painful after the bitter cold outside. The diner was mostly empty, just a couple of truckers at the counter and an elderly couple in one of the booths. The waitress, a woman named Doris who had been working there since before Yardley moved to town, looked up and immediately rushed over. "Good Lord, Yardley, where is your coat? And who is this?" She grabbed menus and napkins, already moving into action. "Long story, Doris. Can we get a booth? And maybe some hot coffee, a blanket if you have one?" "I have got one in the back. Sit." Doris bustled away, and Yardley guided Willa to a booth by the window. She was still shaking, though not as violently as before. His jacket, wrapped around her shoulders, was starting to dry from the heat inside. Doris returned with a blanket and 2 mugs of steaming coffee, plus a 3rd empty mug. "I brought extra. You look like you could use it, hon," she meant Willa, who smiled gratefully. Thank you so much." Willa wrapped her hands around the mug, breathing in the steam. Yardley took his own mug gratefully, the warmth seeping into his frozen fingers. Now that they were inside, in the light, he could see Willa more clearly. She was beautiful, not in the conventional sense perhaps, but in a way that caught his attention and held it. Strong features, intelligent eyes, a mouth that looked like it smiled often despite its current worried expression. She looked to be around his age, maybe early 30s, with the kind of presence that suggested she was someone important, someone who made decisions that mattered. "So," he said after a moment. "Where were you trying to go?" Willa sighed, running a hand through her damp hair. "I own a company, tech startup, that is not really a startup anymore. We were supposed to have a meeting this morning with potential investors downtown. I live about 40 minutes away, and I thought if I left early, I would make it. But the storm got worse faster than predicted, and my car just gave out." She shook her head. "I should have listened to my assistant and canceled. She called this morning, said she had a bad feeling. I told her I had handled worse than a little snow." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Turns out I was wrong. We all make mistakes," Yardley said. "The important thing is you are safe now." Willa looked at him over her coffee mug, those storm gray eyes intense and searching. You gave me your jacket, your coffee. You could have just pointed me to this place and gone on your way, but you walked me here. Why? Yardley shrugged, uncomfortable with the scrutiny. It is what anyone would do. No, Willa said softly. It is not. Most people would have walked right past me, I know that for a fact. Before Yardley could respond, Doris returned with a basket of muffins and 2 plates of eggs and bacon. On the house, she said, waving away Yardley's protest. You take care of people, Yardley, and people take care of you. That is how it works. They ate in silence for a few minutes, both of them hungrier than they had realized. Yardley watched Willa out of the corner of his eye, noting the way she started to relax as warmth and food worked their magic. Her color was back, her hands steady. She had probably been closer to serious hypothermia than he had thought. Tell me about your daughter, Willa said suddenly. Emma, right? She seems sweet. Yardley felt his face soften the way it always did when he talked about Emma. She is everything. 7 years old, smart as a whip and stubborn as they come. Gets that from her mom, I think. He paused, then added, her mom left a few years back. It has been just the 2 of us since then. That must be hard. We manage. I work 2 jobs, sometimes 3 if something comes up. Emma is worth every minute of it. He took a sip of coffee. What about you? Kids? Husband? Willa shook her head. No time for either. I have been so focused on building the company that everything else just fell by the wayside. My friends keep telling me I am going to wake up one day and realize I have missed everything important, but... She trailed off, looking out at the blizzard still raging outside. I thought if I could just make the company successful enough, everything else would fall into place. Now I am not so sure. Success is great, Yardley said, but it does not keep you warm at night. It does not give you someone to share your coffee with on a cold morning. He stopped, surprised at his own words. Where had that come from? But Willa was smiling, a real smile that reached her eyes and transformed her face. Is that what we are doing? Sharing coffee? I gave you my last cup in the bus shelter, Yardley pointed out. I would say that counts. You did, and I am going to repay you for that, I promise. Yardley shook his head. You do not owe me anything. I am just glad you are okay. Willa's phone, which had been sitting on the table, suddenly buzzed. It had apparently gotten enough warmth to power back on. She grabbed it, scrolling through what looked like dozens of messages and missed calls. Oh no, everyone is freaking out. My assistant, my team, the investors. She started typing rapidly. You should call someone to come get you, Yardley said. He glanced at his own phone. He was definitely late for his shift at the grocery store now, but there was nothing to be done about it. He would call when he left, apologize, hope they understood. I will, Willa said, still typing. Then she looked up at him. But first, I want your number. Yardley blinked. My number? Your phone number, so I can thank you properly once this storm clears, please. There was something in her voice, in her eyes, that made Yardley realize this was not just about thanking him. There was a connection here, something that had sparked in that bus shelter and was still burning. He felt it too, if he was honest with himself. The way she looked at him, the way they had talked, easy and natural despite being complete strangers. When was the last time he had felt that with someone? He recited his number, and Willa typed it into her phone. Got it. Yardley Lawson, is that right? That is right. He stood up reluctantly. I need to get to work. Are you okay to wait here for your ride? I will be fine. Doris is already bringing me more coffee. Willa stood too, and before Yardley knew what was happening, she was hugging him. Not a polite, professional hug, but a real one, warm and heartfelt. Thank you, she whispered. For seeing me, for helping me, for sharing your coffee and your coat and your kindness. I will not forget it. Yardley hugged her back, breathing in the scent of her hair, something expensive and floral even after her ordeal. Take care of yourself, Willa. He put his jacket back on, still damp but warming from the diner's heat, and headed back out into the blizzard. The cold hit him like a physical force, but he found himself smiling as he trudged toward the bus stop. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and he pulled it out to see a text from an unknown number. "You forgot this. We'll return it to you soon, along with a proper thank you. Stay warm." Willa, there was a picture attached. His thermos, sitting on the diner table. Yardley laughed out loud, his breath fogging in the frigid air. That thermos had been with him for years, a gift from Emma 2 Christmases ago. But somehow, the fact that Willa had it, that she would be keeping it safe until they met again, felt right. The next few days passed in a blur of work and worry about Emma, who developed a slight cold despite all of Yardley's precautions. Nothing serious, just enough to make her cranky and clingy, which meant late nights of reading stories and bringing juice, and making sure she stayed comfortable. Yardley did not mind. These were the moments he lived for, even if they came with a side of exhaustion. He kept expecting to hear from Willa, checking his phone more than he wanted to admit, but there was nothing. Maybe she had lost his number. Maybe she had just been being polite. Maybe saving someone from hypothermia did not create the kind of connection he thought it had. Then, on Thursday afternoon, his phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello. Yardley, it is Willa Zimmerman from the bus shelter." His heart did something complicated in his chest. "Willa, hi. How are you? Did you recover okay?" "I am fine, thanks to you. Listen, I know this might be weird, but are you free tomorrow night? I want to thank you properly. Dinner, somewhere nice, my treat." Yardley's mind immediately went to his schedule. Friday night, Emma would be at her friend Sophie's house for a sleepover. It was their monthly tradition, had been for almost a year now. Sophie's mom, Karen, was one of the few people Yardley trusted completely with Emma. He would be free, but dinner somewhere nice. He thought about his wardrobe, which consisted mainly of work clothes and one pair of decent jeans. "I am free, but you do not have to do this. Really." "I want to," Willa said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "Please, let me do this." How could he say no to that? "Okay. But nowhere too fancy. I am a simple guy, Willa. I know exactly the place. I will text you the details. And Yardley, I am really looking forward to seeing you again." After they hung up, Yardley sat in his car outside the warehouse, staring at his phone. He was going on a date. Was it a date? It felt like a date. When was the last time he had been on a date? Before Emma was born, certainly. Maybe even before he married Rachel. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. Emma, when he told her that evening, was beside herself with excitement. "You have a date, Dad, a real date." "What are you going to wear? Where are you going? Is she pretty? Are you going to kiss her?" The questions came rapid fire, and Yardley found himself laughing despite his nervousness. I do not know. Yes, she is, and that is none of your business, young lady." Emma giggled, then grew serious. "I hope she is nice, Dad. You deserve someone nice." Yardley pulled her into a hug, this amazing little person who cared so much about his happiness. "I will settle for someone who does not run away when they meet you. You are the important one, Em, always." "I know, Dad, but you need someone too. Someone who is not 7 years old and obsessed with unicorns." Friday evening found Yardley standing in front of his closet, trying to figure out what to wear. He finally settled on his good jeans, a button-down shirt Emma had gotten him for his birthday, and the leather jacket he had bought years ago and hardly ever wore. It would have to do. The restaurant Willa had chosen was in the nicer part of town, but true to her word, it was not overly fancy. An Italian place with warm lighting and the smell of garlic bread greeting him at the door. Yardley spotted Willa immediately. She was sitting at a table near the window, looking stunning in a deep blue dress that matched her eyes. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders, and when she saw him, her face lit up with genuine pleasure. "Yardley," she said, standing as he approached. "You made it. Would not miss it." He handed her a small bag. "I believe this is yours." Willa opened the bag and pulled out his thermos, now polished and shining. She laughed. "I had it cleaned. It seemed like the least I could do." They sat down, and the initial awkwardness that might have existed melted away almost immediately. Talking to Willa was easy, natural, like catching up with an old friend rather than getting to know a stranger. She told him about her company, a software firm that developed programs for small businesses. She had started it 6 years ago with 2 partners, working out of a garage, and had built it into something with 300 employees and offices in 4 cities. "It sounds impressive," Yardley said. "And exhausting." "It is both," Willa admitted. "I love it, but sometimes I wonder if I have been so focused on the destination that I have forgotten to enjoy the journey, you know?" Yardley thought about his own life, the constant scramble to make ends meet, the exhaustion that was his constant companion. "I think I am so focused on just getting through each day that I forget there is supposed to be a destination." "That sounds lonely." "Sometimes it is," Yardley admitted. He had not talked this honestly with anyone in a long time, maybe ever. "But then I look at Emma, and I remember why I do it. She is my destination, I guess. Making sure she has everything she needs, that she grows up happy and loved and confident. That is what matters." Willa reached across the table and touched his hand just briefly. "She is lucky to have you." The conversation flowed through dinner, touching on everything and nothing. Yardley found himself telling her about his life, about Rachel leaving, about the struggle of being a single parent, about his jobs and his hopes for Emma's future. Willa listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed she was really paying attention, not just being polite. In turn, she told him about growing up in a small town upstate, about her parents who had never quite understood her drive to succeed, about the loneliness of being at the top, of making decisions that affected hundreds of people's livelihoods. She talked about the meetings and the pressure and the constant feeling that one wrong move could bring everything crashing down. "But that day in the blizzard," she said over dessert, "that was the first time in I do not know how long that I felt completely out of control. And you know what the weird thing is? It was almost a relief, like the universe was forcing me to stop, to be present in the moment, to accept help from someone." She looked at him with those storm gray eyes. "From you." Yardley felt something shift inside him, like a door opening that he had thought was permanently locked. "I am glad I was there." "So am I," Willa said softly. They left the restaurant late, the night cold but clear, the blizzard long since passed. Yardley walked Willa to her car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than he made in 5 years. "Thank you for dinner," he said. "It was really nice. Thank you for the company and for saving my life." Willa smiled up at him. "I would really like to see you again, Yardley." "If you want to." Did he want to? Looking at her standing there in the lamplight, her eyes hopeful and vulnerable, Yardley realized he wanted it more than he had wanted anything in a long time. But reality crashed back in. What could he offer someone like Willa? She was a millionaire, a successful businesswoman with a company and responsibilities, and a life that was light years away from his. He was a guy with 2 jobs and a broken-down car and a tiny apartment. As if reading his mind, Willa said quietly, "I know what you are thinking. That we are from different worlds, that it would not work, that it is too complicated. But Yardley, when you shared your coffee with me in that bus shelter, when you gave me your jacket even though you were freezing, you did not think about any of that. You just saw someone who needed help and you helped. That is who you are, and I want to get to know that person better." "I have Emma to think about," Yardley said. "She has to come first, always." "I would not expect anything else," Willa said, "and I would never ask you to choose. I just want a chance, that is all." Yardley looked at her for a long moment, weighing everything in his mind. The risks, the complications, the sheer improbability of it all. And then he thought about sitting in that diner, talking to her like they had known each other for years. He thought about her laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she smiled, the easy comfort he felt in her presence. "Okay," he said. "Let us see where this goes." Willa's smile was worth every risk. She stood on her toes and kissed his cheek, her lips soft and warm against his skin. "I will call you tomorrow. We will figure something out. Something with Emma, too, if she would like. I would love to meet her properly." "She would like that," Yardley said, and realized it was true. Emma had been asking about Willa since he told her about the blizzard, calling her the lady Dad saved and spinning elaborate stories about her. "She is convinced you are secretly a princess or something," Willa laughed. "Well, I do own a tiara." Long story involving a bachelorette party and bad decisions. But I think I can live up to a 7-year-old's expectations. They said goodnight, and Yardley drove home in his borrowed car he had been borrowing a friend's old truck until he could save up for something of his own, feeling like something fundamental had shifted in his universe. He was not sure what it was yet, but it felt important. It felt right. Over the next few weeks, Yardley and Willa settled into a pattern. She worked long hours, and so did he, so they stole time where they could. Coffee dates before his morning shift, lunches on her break, late-night phone calls after Emma went to bed. They talked about everything and nothing, learning each other's histories and dreams and fears. Willa had been right about meeting Emma. The first time Yardley brought her to the park, where Willa had suggested they meet. Emma had been shy for about 30 seconds before deciding that Willa was acceptable. By the end of the afternoon, Emma was holding Willa's hand and chattering away about school and her friends and her collection of stuffed unicorns. Watching them together, Willa laughing at something Emma said, Emma looking up at her with admiration and happiness, Yardley felt something in his chest expand and warm. This could work. Maybe, somehow, this could actually work, but reality had a way of intruding. It started small. Comments from coworkers at the warehouse about Yardley looking tired, losing focus. He was not sleeping well, trying to balance his jobs with spending time with Willa, making sure Emma did not feel neglected. Something had to give, but he did not know what. Then there was the money issue. Willa never said anything about it, never made him feel bad about his circumstances, but it was there between them like an invisible wall. When she suggested a weekend trip to the city, Yardley had to admit he could not afford it. When Emma's school announced a field trip that cost $50, he had to budget carefully to make it work. Willa offered to help to pay for things, and Yardley had to explain, as gently as he could, that he needed to provide for his daughter himself. "I am not trying to step on your pride," Willa said one evening as they sat on his couch, Emma asleep in her room. "I just want to help." "I know," Yardley said, "but I need to do this myself. Emma is my responsibility. I have been taking care of her for years, and I cannot just let someone swoop in and take over, even if that someone is you." "I am not trying to take over," Willa said, and he could hear the frustration in her voice. "I am trying to be a part of your life, both of your lives. But you keep holding me at arm's length, like you are afraid if you let me get too close. Something bad will happen." She was not wrong. Yardley had been holding back, afraid to fully invest in this relationship, afraid of what it would mean if it did not work out. Not just for him, but for Emma, who was already attached to Willa. "I am scared," he admitted. "I am scared that one day you are going to wake up and realize that dating a guy with no money and a kid and 2 jobs is not what you signed up for, that you can do better, that you deserve better." Willa turned to face him fully, taking both his hands in hers. "Yardley Lawson, you listen to me. I have dated men with money. I have dated men with fancy jobs and impressive titles and all the right credentials. And you know what? Most of them were so focused on themselves, on their success, on keeping up appearances, that there was nothing real underneath. But you gave me your last cup of coffee when you were freezing. You walked me to safety through a blizzard. You work 2 jobs to make sure your daughter has everything she needs. You are real, Yardley. You are kind and honest and hardworking and good, and that is what I want. That is what I need." "But the money thing," Yardley started, "is just money," Willa interrupted. "Yes, I have it. Yes, it makes certain things easier, but it does not make me happy, Yardley. You make me happy. Emma makes me happy. Coming home at the end of a long day and knowing I get to talk to you, that makes me happy. Not the money, not the company, not any of it. Just you." Yardley pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "I am falling in love with you," he whispered, That scares me more than anything. Good, Willa whispered back, because I am already in love with you. Have been since you put those mittens on my hands and made sure I drank that coffee, even though it meant you had nothing left for yourself. They kissed then, and it felt like coming home, like finding something Yardley had not even known he was looking for. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. So what do we do now? Yardley asked. We figure it out, Willa said simply. Together, no more holding back, no more being afraid. We are in this together, okay? Okay, Yardley agreed. Together. The next few months were not easy, but they were good. Willa integrated herself into Yardley and Emma's life in a way that felt natural, not forced. She came to Emma's school play and cheered louder than anyone. She learned to make Emma's favorite mac and cheese from scratch. She showed up at the grocery store on Yardley's shift sometimes, just to say hi, to steal a quick kiss when his manager was not looking. And slowly, carefully, Yardley let himself believe that this was real, that this could last. Emma adored Willa. She asked constantly when Willa was coming over, when they could go do something fun together, if Willa could come to her soccer games. And Willa, for her part, embraced the role with enthusiasm. She had admitted to Yardley that she had never thought much about having kids, but being around Emma was changing her perspective on a lot of things. She is amazing, Willa said one night after Emma had fallen asleep between them during a movie. Smart and funny, and so full of life. You have done an incredible job with her, Yardley. She makes it easy, Yardley said, smoothing Emma's hair back from her face. Most of the time, anyway. Work continued to be a juggling act, but Yardley found that having Willa in his life gave him energy he had not had before. She listened to his frustrations about his boss at the warehouse, offered advice on dealing with difficult customers at the grocery store, celebrated when he got a small raise. She never made him feel less than because of his job situation, never suggested he was not doing enough. But there were still tensions, moments when their different worlds clashed. When Willa had to miss Emma's birthday party because of an emergency meeting with investors, Emma had been disappointed despite understanding. When Yardley could not take a day off to attend an important company event with Willa, she had been frustrated even though she tried to hide it. I know your work is important, Yardley said after that particular incident, but my work is important too. It might not be running a company or making big decisions, but it is what keeps a roof over Emma's head and food on the table. I cannot just take days off whenever I want. I know that, Willa said. I do. I just wish things were different. I wish I could make things easier for you. I do not need things to be easier, Yardley said, trying to keep his voice calm. I need you to understand that this is my life. This is who I am. If that is not enough, if you need someone who can drop everything and fly to business dinners and fancy events, then maybe we need to reconsider this. Willa looked stricken. That is not what I am saying at all. I love who you are, Yardley. I love your life being part of it, being with you and Emma. I just hate seeing you work yourself to exhaustion. It kills me watching you struggle when I could help. And there it was again, the fundamental disconnect between them. Willa saw helping as an expression of love. Yardley saw accepting help as admitting he could not take care of his own family. They were speaking different languages, even when they used the same words. They fought about it more than once, careful, quiet fights conducted in low voices so Emma would not hear. Each time they managed to work through it, to find common ground, but the issue never fully went away. Then everything changed. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Yardley was at the warehouse, stacking boxes when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost did not answer, but something made him pick up. Is this Yardley Lawson? Yes, who is this? This is Principal Morrison from Emma's school. There has been an incident. Emma is okay, but we need you to come down here right away. Yardley's heart stopped. What happened? What kind of incident? I would rather discuss this in person, Mr. Lawson. How soon can you get here? Yardley did not remember the drive to the school. He just remembered the sick feeling in his stomach, the terror that something had happened to Emma, his reason for everything. He burst into the principal's office to find Emma sitting there, her face tear-stained, a bruise forming on her cheek. What happened? He dropped to his knees in front of her, checking her over with frantic hands. Em, are you okay? Who did this? Mr. Lawson, please sit down, Principal Morrison said. Emma, why do not you tell your dad what you told me? Through tears, Emma explained that some kids in her class had been teasing her about not having a mom, about their old car breaking down, about Yardley being poor. It had been going on for weeks, but Emma had not said anything because she did not want to upset him. That morning, one boy had shoved her on the playground, calling her trailer trash, and she had shoved back. The boy had pushed her into the jungle gym, hence the bruise. Yardley felt rage, pure and cold, flood through him. His baby girl had been suffering, and he had not even known. Who is this kid? Where are his parents? They are on their way, Principal Morrison said. But Mr. Lawson, Emma did push first. According to witnesses, the boy made a comment and Emma pushed him before he retaliated. He has been bullying her for weeks, Yardley said, his voice hard. What have you done about that? We were not aware of the situation until today. If Emma had reported it earlier, we could have intervened. Yardley wanted to argue, wanted to rage at the injustice of it all, but Emma was watching him with scared eyes, and he needed to be strong for her. Can I take her home? Both students are suspended for the rest of the day. We will have a meeting with all parents tomorrow to discuss next steps. Yardley signed Emma out and led her to the truck. Only when they were alone did he pull her into a fierce hug. I am so sorry, sweetheart. I am so sorry you have been dealing with this alone. You can always tell me anything, you know that, right? I did not want you to worry, Emma sobbed into his shoulder. You already work so hard, Dad. I did not want to make things worse. Yardley's heart broke. His 7-year-old daughter was trying to protect him, trying to shield him from worry because she knew how stressed he was. What kind of father did that make him? He took Emma home and got her settled on the couch with her favorite blanket and a bowl of ice cream for her bruised face. Then he called Willa. She answered on the first ring. Hey, I was just thinking about you. How is your day going? Not great. Yardley explained what had happened, and Willa listened in silence until he finished. I am coming over, she said immediately. I am leaving the office right now. You do not have to do that. I know you are busy. Yardley, stop. Emma needs you and you need support. I am coming over and we are going to figure this out together. She arrived 20 minutes later, still in her business suit, carrying bags from Emma's favorite Chinese restaurant. Emma brightened when she saw Willa, and soon they were all sitting around the small kitchen table, eating lo mein and talking about what had happened. Some people are mean because they are unhappy inside, Willa said to Emma, and sometimes people pick on others for being different. But being different is not bad, Emma. It is what makes you special. But we are poor, Emma said quietly. That is what Tyler said, that we are poor and that is why we do not have a new car or why Dad works all the time. Money does not make someone better or worse, Willa said firmly. Your dad works hard to take care of you because he loves you. That is what matters. Not how much money you have or what kind of car you drive. The people who matter, the people worth knowing, they understand that. After Emma went to her room to play, Yardley and Willa sat on the couch together. He was exhausted, emotionally wrung out, and he leaned against her gratefully. I hate this, he said quietly. I hate that Emma is dealing with this because of me, because I cannot provide more for her. This is not your fault, Willa said firmly. Kids can be cruel. They pick up attitudes from their parents, from society, and they use them as weapons. But Emma is strong, and she has you, and she has people who love her. That is what she will remember, not some stupid kid's comments. I want to give her more, Yardley said. I want her to have everything she needs, everything she deserves. But no matter how hard I work, it never seems to be enough. Willa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I have been thinking about something. Hear me out before you say no, okay? Yardley tensed, sensing what was coming. My company is expanding. We are opening a new division focused on operations and logistics. I need someone to manage the warehouse operations, coordinate shipping and receiving, oversee inventory. It is a real job, Yardley, a good job with benefits and a salary that would let you quit both your current jobs. I want to offer it to you. No, Yardley said immediately. You promised you would hear me out, Willa said. I do not need charity, Willa. I do not need you creating a job for me because you feel sorry for me. It is not charity, and I am not creating anything, Willa said, frustration creeping into her voice. This is a real position we have been trying to fill for 2 months. I have interviewed 6 people and none of them were right. But you have been managing warehouse operations for years. You know shipping and receiving, inventory management, all of it. You are perfect for this job. The only reason I have not offered it before is because I did not want you to think I was trying to buy you or something. Yardley stood up, pacing the small living room. If I take this job, everyone will say I only got it because I am dating the boss. They will say I am using you. Who cares what they say? Willa stood too, facing him. You would be good at this job, Yardley, really good. And it would change your life, change Emma's life. You could actually have time to spend with her. You could stop working yourself to death. You could have health care, retirement, stability. Why is your pride more important than that? It is not about pride, Yardley shot back. It is about doing things the right way, about providing for my family through my own efforts. And you have, Willa said. For years, you have worked multiple jobs and sacrificed everything to take care of Emma. You have proved you can do it. But Yardley, you do not have to prove it anymore. You do not have to suffer to show you are a good father. Let someone help you for once. Let me help you. They stared at each other, and Yardley felt the war inside himself. Pride versus practicality. Independence versus partnership. The life he had built versus the life he could have. I need to think about it, he finally said. Willa nodded. Okay, but think about Emma too. Think about what would be best for her. She left soon after, and Yardley spent the rest of the evening in turmoil. He put Emma to bed, reading her 3 extra stories and staying until she fell asleep. Then he sat in his small living room, looking at the worn furniture and the water stain on the ceiling he could not afford to fix, and the stack of bills on the kitchen counter. Was Willa right? Was his pride keeping him from making the best decision for Emma? Or would taking this job fundamentally change who he was, make him dependent on Willa in a way that would poison their relationship? He did not have answers. So he did what he always did when he was struggling. He thought about what was best for Emma. The meeting at school the next day was painful. Tyler's parents were defensive and dismissive, acting like Emma was making a big deal out of nothing. Principal Morrison tried to play mediator, suggesting both kids had made mistakes and everyone should move forward. Yardley kept his temper, but barely. The only bright spot was when Willa showed up halfway through, having rearranged her entire morning to be there. She sat beside Yardley, a silent show of support that meant everything. After the meeting, which resolved nothing concrete but at least put the school on notice that Yardley was paying attention, he walked out with Willa. Thank you for coming, he said. Of course, I told you we are in this together. She paused. Have you thought any more about the job? Yardley took a deep breath. I will do it, on one condition. What condition? I want it to be a real job, a real interview, the whole thing. I want you to interview me the way you would anyone else. If you decide I am the best person for the position, I will take it. But if there is someone better, someone more qualified, I want you to hire them instead. Deal, Willa smiled. Deal, come by my office tomorrow at 2, bring your resume. The interview was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of Yardley's life. Willa was professional, all business, asking tough questions about logistics and management and problem-solving. She did not give him any special treatment, did not go easy on him. By the end, Yardley was sweating but also exhilarated. He had answered every question confidently, drawing on his years of experience, proving that he knew this work inside and out. 2 days later, Willa called him. The job is yours if you want it. And before you ask, yes, I interviewed other candidates yesterday. You were the best, by a lot. Yardley felt relief wash over him. "When can I start?" 2 weeks. That gives you time to give notice at your current jobs. Starting at Willa's company felt like stepping into a different world. The office was modern and bright, with amenities like a break room that actually had good coffee and a gym and natural light everywhere. His office was small but his own, with a door and a window and a computer that did not take 5 minutes to boot up. His coworkers were welcoming, though Yardley could sense some curiosity about his relationship with Willa. He addressed it head-on in his first team meeting, acknowledging that yes, he was dating the boss, but he was here on his own merit and would prove that through his work. Most people seemed to appreciate the honesty. Willa went out of her way to maintain professional boundaries at the office. They did not have lunch together, did not meet behind closed doors unnecessarily, kept things appropriate. It was only in the evenings, when they were back in Yardley's apartment or occasionally at Willa's much nicer condo, that they could relax into their relationship. The difference the new job made in Yardley's life was immediate and profound. For the first time in years, he was not constantly exhausted. He could pick Emma up from school himself instead of relying on the after-school program. He had health insurance, which meant he could finally take Emma to the dentist for a checkup that was a year overdue. He could breathe. Emma noticed the difference. "You are smiling more, Dad," she said one evening as they made dinner together, a luxury Yardley had not often had time for before. "And you are home when I get home from school. I like it." "I like it too, sweetheart," Yardley said, ruffling her hair. Things are going to be different from now on. Better. And they were. Slowly but surely, Yardley and Emma's life stabilized. He built up savings for the first time ever. He was able to replace the truck with a reliable used car that did not threaten to break down every other week. Emma joined a soccer league, and Yardley could actually attend all her games because he had weekends off. His relationship with Willa deepened too. Without the constant stress of juggling multiple jobs, Yardley had energy to invest in their relationship. They went on actual dates, not just stolen hours between shifts. They took Emma to museums and parks and once, memorably, to see a Broadway show that made Emma's eyes light up with wonder. Watching Emma and Willa together, Yardley saw something he had not dared hope for. A family. Not a replacement for what Emma had lost when Rachel left, but something new and real and good. Willa never tried to replace Emma's mother, never overstepped, but she was present in a way that mattered. She showed up. She cared. She loved Emma genuinely and deeply, and Emma loved her back. 6 months into his new job, Yardley finally felt secure enough to think about the future. He and Willa had not talked about marriage or moving in together or any of the big steps, both of them content to let things develop naturally. But Yardley knew, with a certainty that went bone deep, that he wanted Willa in his life permanently. She was it for him. The one, he suspected she felt the same way, but neither of them had said the words yet beyond their initial declarations of love. Maybe it was time to change that. He planned it carefully. A nice dinner at the restaurant where they had their first real date, Emma safely at a sleepover with Sophie. He even bought a ring, nothing extravagant but something beautiful that reminded him of Willa's eyes. But life had other plans. It started with a phone call during his lunch break. Willa, her voice strained. "Can you come to my office?" Now, Yardley went immediately, knocking on her door and finding her standing by the window, her posture rigid with tension. "What is wrong?" he asked, closing the door behind him. "I got an offer today," Willa said, not turning around. "A buyout offer. For the company. A huge conglomerate wants to acquire us, fold us into their operations. They are offering an obscene amount of money, enough that all the partners would be set for life." "That is good, is not it?" Yardley said carefully. "I mean, that is what you have been building toward, right? An exit strategy?" "It was," Willa agreed. She finally turned to face him, and he could see the conflict in her eyes. "But there is a catch. The acquiring company is based in Seattle. They want me to relocate to run the division from their headquarters for at least 3 years. It is a condition of the sale." Yardley felt his stomach drop. Seattle, 3,000 miles away. Oh, yeah, Willa said. Oh. They stared at each other, the distance between them suddenly feeling vast despite being only a few feet apart. What do you want to do? Yardley asked. I do not know, Willa admitted. This is everything I have worked for, Yardley. A chance to take the company to the next level, to secure financial futures for everyone who has worked so hard to build this. But it would mean leaving you, leaving Emma, and I do not know if I can do that. You cannot give up this opportunity because of me, Yardley said, even though the words felt like they were being ripped from his chest. Willa, this is huge. This is your dream. You are my dream too, Willa said, and there were tears in her eyes now. You and Emma, this life we are building. I have been chasing success for so long, but the last year with you has been happier than all those years of building the company. How do I choose between that? Yardley crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. She clung to him, and he held her tight, breathing in the scent of her hair, memorizing the feel of her against him. You do not have to choose right now, he said. We will figure something out. Maybe I can come with you. Emma and we could move to Seattle. Could you? Willa pulled back to look at him. Could you really uproot your whole life, take Emma away from everything she knows? Your friends are here, your support system, Sophie and her family. I cannot ask you to give all that up. You are not asking, I am offering. But even as he said it, Yardley felt uncertainty gnawing at him. Could he really move across the country? Take Emma away from the only home she had ever known? What if it did not work out? What if he was making a terrible mistake? They spent the rest of the day in turmoil, talking in circles, trying to find a solution that did not involve someone sacrificing everything. By the time Yardley went home that evening, they still had not reached any conclusions. Emma knew something was wrong the moment she saw him. She had gotten good at reading his moods over the years. What happened, Dad? Is it Willa? Did you guys break up? No, sweetheart, nothing like that. Yardley sat down on the couch and pulled Emma next to him. She deserved to know what was going on. Willa got a job offer, a really good one. But it is in Seattle, which is really far away. Emma's face crumpled. She is leaving. She is moving away. Maybe. She has not decided yet. But Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to really think about it before you answer, okay? Emma nodded, swiping at her eyes. How would you feel about moving to Seattle? You and me going with Willa? Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, would I have to leave Sophie and my school and all my friends? Yes, Yardley said honestly. We would start over in a new place. New school, new friends. It would be a big change. But we would be with Willa. We would be with Willa. Emma thought about it, and Yardley could see the wheels turning in her head, his smart, thoughtful daughter weighing options the way no 7-year-old should have to. I think, Emma said slowly, I think we should go, because Willa makes you happy, Dad, and she makes me happy too. And you always say that family is the people who love you, not just the people you are related to. Right? Yardley felt tears prick his eyes. Right. Then Willa is family. And family stays together. Out of the mouths of babes, Yardley thought, his 7-year-old daughter had just articulated what his adult brain had been struggling to process. Willa was family, and family stayed together. He called Willa that night, after Emma had gone to bed. We are coming with you, he said without preamble. If you take this job, if you go to Seattle, Emma and I are coming too. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, are you sure? Yardley, this is huge. I do not want you to do this and then resent me later. I could never resent you, Yardley said. And yes, I am sure. Emma is sure too. We had a whole conversation about it. She is scared about leaving her friends, but she wants to be with you. We both do. Whatever happens, we will face it together. That is what you said, right? We are in this together. Together, Willa echoed, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Okay, let us do this. Let us go to Seattle and start a new adventure. There is one more thing, Yardley said. Before we go, before everything changes, I need to ask you something. In person, can you come over? I will be there in 15 minutes. When Willa arrived, Yardley led her to the couch and took both her hands in his. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady. "I had this whole plan," he said. "Dinner at the restaurant, a romantic speech, the whole thing. But that is not really us, is it? We met in a blizzard. We shared coffee in a bus shelter. Nothing about us has been conventional from the start." "Yardley," Willa said, her eyes wide, "what are you doing?" "What I should have done months ago." He pulled out the ring, and Willa gasped. "Willa Zimmerman, you crashed into my life in the middle of a storm, and you have been turning my world upside down ever since. You have made me believe in love again, in partnership, in the possibility of happiness. You have loved my daughter like she is your own, and that means more to me than I can ever express. I do not have much to offer you except myself, my heart, my devotion, and one very opinionated 7-year-old. But if you will have us, if you will take us on as a package deal, I promise I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. Will you marry me?" Willa was crying now, full-on sobbing, and Yardley felt a moment of panic before she threw her arms around him. "Yes," she said against his shoulder. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. You ridiculous man, of course I will marry you." He slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly, the diamond catching the light. They kissed, and it tasted like salt and promise and the beginning of forever. The next few months passed in a whirlwind. Willa accepted the buyout offer with the condition that she could bring key staff members with her to Seattle, a condition the acquiring company readily agreed to. Yardley gave notice at his current position, and Willa arranged for him to transfer to a similar role in the Seattle office, maintaining the boundaries between their professional and personal lives. They told Emma about the engagement, and her reaction was everything Yardley could have hoped for. She screamed, she jumped up and down, she demanded to be the flower girl, and then she sobbed because she was so happy. Sophie's family threw them a small engagement party, and Karen hugged Yardley hard. "You deserve this," she said. "You deserve to be happy. And Emma deserves to see her dad in love." Packing up their life was harder than Yardley expected. So many memories in this small apartment, good and bad. This was where he had raised Emma after Rachel left, where they had weathered storms and celebrated victories. But it was also where he had struggled and stressed and wondered if he was enough. Seattle represented a fresh start for all of them. New city, new opportunities, new memories to make. The wedding was small and perfect. They held it on a Saturday in early October, in a small chapel with just close friends and family. Emma walked down the aisle first in a white dress covered in sparkles, grinning from ear to ear as she scattered rose petals. Then came Willa, stunning in a simple dress that took Yardley's breath away. As they exchanged vows, Yardley looked at the woman who had walked out of a blizzard and into his heart, and he felt gratitude so profound, it brought tears to his eyes. Life had a funny way of working out sometimes. You could be at your lowest point, convinced that things would never get better, and then someone could stumble into your life and change everything. After they exchanged rings, before the minister could pronounce them married, Willa turned to Emma. "I have something for you too," she said, pulling out a small box. Emma opened it to find a necklace, a delicate chain with a small pendant shaped like a heart. "This is a promise," Willa said, crouching down so she was eye level with Emma. "I promise to love you and your dad with everything I have. I promise to be here for you, to support you, to cheer for you, and to help you grow into the amazing person I know you are going to be. You are my family now, Emma, if that is okay with you." Emma threw her arms around Willa's neck. "It is okay with me. I love you, Willa." "I love you too, sweetheart." There was not a dry eye in the chapel. The move to Seattle was an adjustment, but a good one. The acquiring company had set Willa up with a beautiful home in a good school district, and they settled in quickly. Emma made new friends, joined a new soccer team, and discovered a love of art classes at the local community center. Yardley found his footing in his new position, and to his surprise, he loved it. The work was challenging in the best way, and he was good at it. Most importantly, he got to come home every evening to a real home, to Emma and Willa, to laughter and dinner conversations and movie nights on the couch. The financial stress that had defined his adult life was gone, replaced by a security he had never dared dream of. It was not Willa's money that made the difference, though that certainly helped. It was the partnership, the feeling that he was not alone anymore, that they were building this life together. A year into their marriage, Willa came home with news that stopped Yardley in his tracks. "I am pregnant," she said, her eyes shining with joy and fear in equal measure. "I took 3 tests. They were all positive." Yardley whooped and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around while she laughed. "We are having a baby. We are really having a baby." Emma, who had been listening from the doorway, came running in. "Really, I am going to be a big sister. Really," Willa confirmed. "What do you think about that?" Emma pretended to consider it, tapping her chin. Then she grinned. "I think it is pretty awesome. Can I help pick out names?" The pregnancy was smooth, and watching Willa's body change, knowing that she was carrying their child, filled Yardley with a sense of awe. Emma was the perfect big sister in waiting, talking to Willa's belly and making elaborate plans for all the things she would teach the baby. Their son was born on a snowy February morning, and the irony was not lost on either of them. "It seems fitting," Willa said as she held him, "that our son was born during a snowstorm, considering how we met." They named him Marcus, and he was perfect. Dark hair like Yardley, gray-blue eyes like Willa, and a surprisingly calm temperament. Emma adored him from the moment she met him, and Yardley felt his family was complete in a way he had never thought possible. Life settled into a new rhythm. Willa scaled back her hours at work, prioritizing time with the family. Yardley did the same, and they found a balance that worked for them. Emma thrived in school, making the honor roll and joining the debate team. Marcus grew from an infant to a toddler with Yardley's stubbornness and Willa's intelligence, a combination that promised trouble in the best way, sometimes. Usually late at night after everyone else had gone to bed, Yardley would think about that day in the blizzard. About how close he had come to just waving Willa toward the diner and going on his way. About how different his life would be if he had not shared his coffee, had not given her his jacket, had not taken the time to make sure she was okay. Life turned on such small moments, such tiny decisions. The choice to be kind when you were tired and cold and running late. The choice to see someone else's need instead of just your own. The choice to open your heart to the possibility of love, even when every logical reason said it was impossible. "What are you thinking about?" Willa asked one night, finding him standing by the window, watching the snow fall. "Just remembering," Yardley said, pulling her close. "That day in the bus shelter, how cold you were, how you drank that terrible lukewarm coffee like it was the best thing you had ever tasted." "It was the best thing I had ever tasted," Willa said, "because you shared it with me when you had nothing else to give. That was the moment I started falling in love with you, I think. When you poured that coffee and held it to my lips like I mattered, like my well-being was the most important thing in the world right then." "You did matter," Yardley said. "You do matter. You and Emma and Marcus, you are my world, my whole world." "And you are mine," Willa said. She turned in his arms, looking up at him with those storm-gray eyes that still made his heart skip a beat. "Thank you for sharing your coffee with me that day. Thank you for saving me in more ways than one. Thank you for walking into that blizzard," Yardley replied. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for loving me and Emma and giving us this life. I never thought I could be this happy." They stood together watching the snow, two people who had found each other in the middle of a storm and built something beautiful from that chance encounter. Emma was asleep in her room, now 12 years old and growing into an incredible young woman. Marcus was asleep in his crib, dreaming whatever dreams 2-year-olds had. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing Seattle in white. Inside, Yardley's home was warm and full of love, full of laughter, full of everything that mattered. He had started as a struggling single dad, working multiple jobs and wondering if he was doing enough, if he was being enough. Now he was a husband a father to two incredible children, a man who had learned that accepting love and help was not weakness but strength. And it had all started with a cup of coffee shared in a blizzard, a simple act of kindness that had changed everything. Years passed, and life continued its forward march. Emma graduated high school with honors and went off to college to study engineering, coming home for holidays with stories about her classes and her friends and the boy she was maybe dating. Marcus grew from a toddler to a curious, energetic child who asked a million questions a day and wanted to know how everything worked. Willa's career continued to flourish, though she always maintained her balance between work and family. She never forgot the lessons learned in that blizzard, about what truly mattered, about the difference between success and happiness. Yardley moved up in the company too, eventually becoming director of operations for the entire West Coast region. He never forgot where he came from, never lost sight of the struggles he had faced. He made it a point to mentor younger employees, especially single parents, helping them navigate the challenges of balancing career and family. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the city where they had met. They drove past the bus shelter, now updated and remodeled, where their story had begun. They went to the diner, which was still there, still serving coffee and eggs. Doris had retired, but the new owner knew their story and treated them like celebrities. "Do you ever regret it?" Yardley asked as they sat in that same booth by the window. "Moving to Seattle, changing your whole life." Willa reached across the table and took his hand. "Not for a single second." "You are my home, Yardley. You and Emma and Marcus. Not a place, not a job, not any amount of money or success. You, that has never changed since the day you shared your coffee with me in that blizzard." Yardley squeezed her hand, emotions swelling in his chest. "I love you so much." "I love you too. Forever." They went back to the bus shelter before leaving town, standing there hand in hand as light snow began to fall. It was not a blizzard this time, just a gentle dusting, but it felt symbolic somehow. Full circle. "Thank you," Yardley said softly, not sure if he was talking to Willa, to fate, to the universe itself. "For all of it. The struggles and the victories, the hard times and the good times. Thank you for bringing us here, to this moment, to this life. I would not change a thing." Willa leaned her head on his shoulder. "Me neither, not a single thing." They stood there in the falling snow. Two people who had beaten the odds, who had found love in the unlikeliest of circumstances, who had built a life together that was richer than any bank account, more valuable than any company, more precious than anything money could buy. And it had all started with kindness, with compassion, with the simple human act of seeing another person in need and choosing to help. That was the real story, the real magic. Not that a poor dad had met a millionaire, but that two people had met as humans first, without pretense or expectation, and found something real in each other. As they drove back to Seattle, back to their children and their home and their life together, Yardley felt a deep sense of contentment. He had worked hard for everything he had, yes, but he had also been lucky. Lucky to have Emma, lucky to have found Willa, lucky to have the opportunity to build this beautiful life. Marcus was waiting at the door when they got home, launching himself at Yardley with the enthusiasm only a 5-year-old could muster. "Daddy, you are home. Can we build a fort, please?" "Sure, buddy," Yardley said, scooping him up. "Let me just say hi to your sister first." Emma was on the couch with her laptop, video chatting with friends from college, but she waved when she saw them. She looked so grown up now, so confident and self-assured. She was going to do amazing things, Yardley knew. She already was doing amazing things. That night, after Marcus was asleep and Emma had gone to her room, Yardley and Willa sat together on their back porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars. These were his favorite moments, the quiet ones, when it was just the two of them and the night and the peaceful certainty of their love. "Do you think Marcus will remember all of this?" Willa asked. "When he is older, do you think he will remember how we were when he was little?" "Maybe not the specific moments," Yardley said, "but he will remember how he felt, loved, safe, happy. That is what kids remember, the feeling of home. Like Emma remembers, like Emma remembers. Yardley smiled. She told me once, back when we were still struggling, that she did not care about having a lot of things. She just wanted me to be happy. That kid had her priorities straight at 7 years old. She learned that from you, Willa said. You taught her what mattered. We are teaching Marcus too, Yardley said. Together, just like we do everything together. Together, Willa agreed, snuggling closer. Always together. And so they sat in the comfortable silence of two people who knew each other completely, who had weathered storms together and come out stronger, who had built something lasting and true. The poor dad who had shared his coffee with a cold woman in a blizzard had found not just love, but purpose, partnership, and a happiness he had never dreamed possible. The millionaire who had been lost in that same blizzard had found something more valuable than any business deal or financial success. A family, a home, a love that filled all the empty spaces in her heart. They had found each other in the most unlikely of circumstances, and they had built something beautiful. A love story not defined by money or status or any external measure of success, but by kindness, compassion, and the choice to keep choosing each other every single day. Years later, when Marcus asked how his parents had met, Yardley would tell him the story of the blizzard, of the bus shelter, of the coffee shared between strangers who became everything to each other. Marcus would listen with wide eyes, finding it terribly romantic in the way children do, not yet understanding the real miracle of it. The miracle was not that they found each other. The miracle was that they saw each other, truly saw beyond circumstances and appearances to the people underneath. The miracle was choosing kindness when it cost something, choosing love when it was complicated, choosing family even when it meant sacrifice. That was the real story, the one that mattered. Not poor dad meets millionaire, but person meets person, heart meets heart, soul meets soul. Everything else was just details. And as Yardley sat there on his porch with Willa beside him, his children safe and happy inside their home, he knew with absolute certainty that he would make the same choice 1,000 times over. He would always share his coffee. He would always stop to help. He would always choose love, no matter the circumstances, because that was what life was about. Not the money or the success or the material things, but the connections we make, the people we love, the difference we make in each other's lives. That was the real treasure. That was the real happily ever after. And Yardley Lawson, once a struggling single dad working 2 jobs, now a husband and father and man who had found his place in the world, was living proof that fairy tales could come true. Not with magic or luck or some external force, but with kindness, love, and the courage to accept both when they were offered. The snow fell softly outside, blanketing their yard in white, a reminder of where they had started and how far they had come. Yardley pulled the blanket tighter around them, feeling Willa's warmth against his side, and smiled. This was it. This was everything. This was home, and it all started with a cup of coffee, shared between strangers in a blizzard, one simple act of kindness that had changed everything.